Welcome, wrestling friends, to a special edition of Smarknado. I'm your host, Eric Druckman. With me, as always, the Danaconda, Dan Sesnit. Dan, how you doing today?
Oh man. I think our guest understands kids. And I
Oh,
am I'm at
I know
18
all
months
about
on
it.
mine. So yeah, I'm tired. But good, man. How about you?
I've got I've got four. So
Jesus Christ.
I've got a 15-year-old. I got one getting ready to turn 14 next month, and then a 9-year-old and a 3-year-old.
All right. Well, Eric, why don't you
Hey,
introduce
So
this
I
this
stay
man here
pretty
and then I'm
busy.
gonna
absolutely. God bless you, dude. On an outside wrestling perspective, but please welcome us today to Smarknado, one of my favorite independent wrestlers on the scene today. He's the current reigning TWE Chattanooga champion, St. Louis Anarchy Gateway Heritage champion, and the man who a week from Friday is going to be competing in a strap match against Rip Bison for Pro Wrestling Grind. Please welcome the Kings Road Slayer, Derek Neal. Derek, how you doing this evening?
Oh, baby, doing good, man. Doing good.
so
Just
after hearing
enjoying
you have four
a
kids,
nice warm night out here.
I gotta jump in. How do you balance it, man? I have one kid. I have four dogs, but I have one
Yeah.
kid. How do you balance all this out, man? How does it like? How do you be a pro
Um,
wrestler and have four kids?
man, I don't know how I do it. Having a family support system's huge.
Excellent.
Oh,
You
sure.
know, like whenever like I've been a wrestler for 20 years, and then I've been married 16. So luckily I have found a woman that is crazy enough to put up with my shit.
Yeah, isn't it the best when you do that?
And my and I do have like very helpful parents too. So because
That's
like I
awesome.
said, we stay really busy. I have four kids. Two of the four play competitive sports, so we stay very very busy with that.
Sweet.
Excellent.
Awesome. Don't know who they got those genes from. Um, but it's great to be talking with you today. And as we have had in previous interviews, we generally start with the same question here. So Derek, what are your earliest memories of pro wrestling, and who'd you
I,
enjoy watching when you were a kid?
probably it's probably VHS tapes that my grandfather left behind for me. He was a huge wrestling fan. That's who got me into professional wrestling.
Awesome.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with like the territories and things like that.
Oh, very
But
from documentaries and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, my mom told me that he used to watch NWA in the Nashville area, which was promoted by Nick Gulas.
Mhm.
So that was his bread and butter growing up. I mean, he did get into WWF as the machine that is now WWE got to roll him in the '80s.
Sure.
One of
As we all
my
did.
one of my first VHS tapes I had that he gave to me was actually WrestleMania 3. So
Yeah.
through those tapes is kind of how I got introduced to professional wrestling and just kind of fell in love with it after that.
Yeah. Was there a particular match from WrestleMania 3 that captivated you in particular?
Well, yeah, everybody talk. I mean, for
Sure.
me, it's definitely the Savage Steamboat match.
Sure. Absolutely.
That's kind of a big one, and then later on, it's pretty interesting. Later on, as I got into the business and learned more about the history of pro wrestling, um, his dad Angelo Poffo actually had a territory here in Kentucky that they
Mhm.
ran,
Oh,
and they even I think for a short time ran in opposition to Jerry Jarrett.
yes.
So that was pretty interesting to kind of him be connected to my home state.
Right. Is it like CWF, right?
Yeah, it was ICW is what
Oh,
Angelo.
ICW. Okay.
I did know a couple of guys and that worked for him that helped me in my career. Um, One guy's he was one of the barroom brawlers, Doug Vines. He wrestled there regularly. He also did a little bit for Bill Watts, I think, too, at one time. And then Tony Falk was another guy. And Tony's been around a lot of different places. He gave me my start in Nashville, but Tony, he worked for the Von Erichs. He's been to Puerto Rico. He was actually there in the Hill dressing room the night Brody was killed. And he also wrestled for Angelo as well. So I in Memphis. I mean, he's been everywhere and did a lot of things. But those two guys did help me early on in my career.
So I have a question for you that I'm sort of, it crops up and sometimes they sneak in, but like, so you mentioned the territory days. That's sort of what got you into it. Do you sort of see the independence now as a resurgence of the territory days in a lot of ways?
Actually, to a degree, yes. Because if you look at each region, yeah, we're made up of several independent companies all over the United States. But if you look at each region has their top guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it kind of and then I mean you do see guys travel from different regions and things like that, but I mean you kind of you got your core group of guys in each territory that are stars of that area.
Yeah. It always just felt that way to me because obviously, I mean, I was old enough to watch wrestling. I was born in 81, right? So I could see a lot of that stuff and know it, but like I never really got into the territory era. I've read about it, I've seen the docs, and I've watched some of it on the network and YouTube and the like, but I never really experienced it in the time. And now I feel like as an independent wrestling fan now, it just mirrors what I've read and what I've heard so much that I just as an independent wrestling talent, I just wondered if that was sort of the vibe it felt like to you having grown up watching that. So
yes, and I think I think more so now than ever. I think it feels kind of like that. Like I said, like you've got your established stars, and then I mean you do got your big names that kind of go from region to region within the United States, right? And wrestles the top guy in that area. So there is some similarities I think in that. And I mean I'm the same way with you. Like I mean I would go to like local independent shows and stuff here in my town, growing up here and there, but I didn't really get to delve into the territories until and what they were really about and the history and things like that until like I broke in training as a professional wrestler and just listening to veterans and stuff like that, hearing these stories, and then I would start venturing out on the internet and reading about them and stuff. And then it was pretty cool to get to rub elbows with some guys who got to work in some major territories at different time periods.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you mentioned Tony Falk as somebody that helped you become a professional wrestler. Just talk about breaking into the business in general. What was that whole process like?
Yeah, sure. I randomly went to just like I said, I would go to independent shows, and I went to one, and I want to say it was late 02. And I ended up meeting my trainer eventually after that, and I started working out in late 02. The guy that trained me, he goes by the headliner Chris Michaels. He's also done some traveling time. He's done some USWA. He worked in Global in Dallas a little bit. He also, he did work for Cornette and Smoky Mountain and OVW. And, he did do a lot of enhancement stuff for like WWF, WCW.
Right.
He was on the ground floor at TNA. And so I started training with him, and I also would work out some with the natural Chase Stevens, who's a former TNA tag team champion with Andy Douglas.
Mm-hmm.
Was a TNA mainstay, and he's done a lot in his own right, traveling everywhere. So those are the guys that helped break me in. And then, go ahead.
Is there any like tough love type stories that you
There was a little bit. It wasn't. I was pretty fortunate. I didn't get it that bad. Like I would, sometimes with Chase, I would have the, if we messed up on something, we had the options of push-ups or chops. Most of us would just push-ups till we couldn't do them anymore, and then we just chops. But luckily, I didn't mess up too much. I always stayed in his good graces in training class.
Hey,
Awesome.
important to be top of the class, right?
Very, very important to just keep keep the mouth shut and the ears and eyes open and listening and watching.
That's why you got two of these and only one of these.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, when you first became a professional wrestler, and like your first year, like, was there a particular idea you had about like who you wanted to be as a professional wrestler? Like, was there someone that you like wanted to be kind of an homage to? I know today you kind of become the Kings Road Slayer, kind of All Japan Pro Wrestling influence, but was it a different approach at first by you?
Man, I didn't really know what I wanted to be. And honestly, like I think in my first few years of my career, that was a big struggle for me trying to figure out who I was,
Mm-hmm.
what I wanted to be. I mean, I was just this, when I first broke in, I was just this, skinny 17-year-old uncharismatic kid. I had athletic ability, but that's all I had.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have anything else. And over time, it took me a while to figure that out. I kind of wanted to be, at one point in my career, kind of more of what I saw on TV growing up, like a Bret Hart or a Kurt Hennig,
Mm-hmm.
kind of want to be a guy like that. And then once I kind of discovered more of that Japanese style, I really liked, I liked the pacing of those matches. I liked how it was basically a war of attrition in there from bell to bell. I liked how the stories were like a slow burn and not like a quick shotgun. We're done in 6 weeks.
Right.
Type. Um, and then once I got a hold of that and started watching that stuff and gaining an understanding for it, that's when I kind of wanted to gear myself more towards that stuff.
I like that, man. And it suits you very, very well. When I think about your style of wrestling, the one prevailing quality in your work for me is believability. In my opinion, at least, I think your punches are great. Your ring work is very crisp. You have the ability to make people feel. And in a world of like heavy high spots in pro wrestling, do you ever mentor younger talent or have them sit under the learning tree, emphasize to them the importance of solid fundamentals and the psychology that you bring to matches?
Yeah, I mean, I have, and with some of those younger guys too. I've also explained to them like you can do that kind of stuff if you build it right.
Mm-hmm.
If you right, it can be done, and you can get the reaction you're looking for.
Right.
You're not,
And to that point too, like in your matches in particular, the deceptive athleticism would they always say on commentary when you whip out those drop kicks and those very highly athletics. Are you doing a D'Lo Brown calf kick?
yeah.
You are able to kind of time those the right way throughout the match to make them really matter. And yeah, it's just definitely something that I appreciate when I'm watching your work. And
Well, thank
was
you. Now, I did take, like for me, like to understand that stuff and get it, like it took years of work. It didn't come
right.
overnight. But and plus too, like another thing for me, that was another big downside for me when I started in wrestling because like I said, I started in the 2000s, and most of the guys, believe it or not, were really good sized guys. And in
Mhm.
comparison to my height and weight at that time when I broke into professional wrestling, I was 5'9", 5'10", and 160 pounds, and I'm in the land of the giants technically. So like
Right.
it took me a lot of work to get my size up and things like that, and
Mhm.
I took a lot of lumps in those years too, being the small guy. but
So
Absolutely.
um, but it took a lot of studying, a lot of learning in the car with vets and things like that to bring me where I am, and how I do these things in the ring and why I do them and how I can make at least people suspend disbelief that I'm really putting it to somebody out there.
No doubt
So
about it.
let me ask you, I got a sidebar to this again. So when you broke in, you said you were 5'9", 5'10", 180 pounds and whatnot. What,
165.
160. Sorry, I didn't mean to give you that extra 30 pounds.
No.
But did you at that point did you ever think maybe I'm gonna lean towards this more highly athletic style? Was there ever a point where you'd say, okay, maybe like a lucha libre style or a high flying style would be more like would ultimately appeal to you, or were you just like, yo, I'm bulking up, I want to beat the tar out of people? Like, what was that like transition?
I did start doing. I mean, I did do more of the flying and athletic stuff when I was younger. I felt like, especially compared to other guys my size at the time, that's what they were doing, and I felt like I had to do that too. To try and gain some kind of relevancy of wherever I was working at. The scene was a lot different then. You didn't have like, this was right before the social media boom. This was before YouTube. So it was very hard to get booked in other places. So you had to, you kind of had to adapt to these other styles to where whenever you push out a promotional package via snail mail to some promoter, they may want to use you, because you're kind of the style of the time. And I did really think about that a lot. I was a hard gainer in the gym. I had the worst time gaining weight until, I would say, till about 2009. When I was a few years in, I started packing on some weight. And then from there, I kind of was able to limit the flips, or the dives. I was able to limit that a little bit. And then I just kind of was able to, slowly phase it out as I gotten bigger in size. I mean, I haven't done it in a while, but I mean, I could still do stuff like that if I want.
Sure.
But it has, the circumstances would have to be right for that kind of thing.
Storytelling. Yeah, perfectly. No, it's interesting to see a progression of a smaller guy to being, the King's Road Slayer. Like straight up. Like that's just, it surprises you.
Yeah. Like as you get bigger and too, as you get older and deal with injuries, it'll, that kind of makes you want to change. It kind of makes you change your moveset too. But but yeah, definitely with the size, I realized that, because here I am going from being like the smallest guy in a locker room to, especially within the last few years, being one of the bigger guys. I realized that, I kind of realized as I got kind of middle of the road towards, between, an average and a bigger guy, I kind of realized, hey man, I don't really have to do any of that if I don't want to.
All right.
Especially got other things in your tool bag that does look believable. You don't have to do that.
Of course.
Make him believe it. So Derek, I know that Eric is itching to ask you who you want to wrestle coming up, right? Because that we always want to know who you want to wrestle. But I know that you're a Star Wars fan from what I'm told or what I've seen.
Yeah.
So I want to know, if you had to pick somebody to wrestle against in the Star Wars universe, who's it going to be? Who do you want to wrestle from the Star Wars universe?
It would probably be Luke Skywalker because I'm Empire for life.
Oh, wow.
Darth Vader's my hero.
I'm not surprised though at the end.
I'm okay with that. That's a good answer.
For several years, I used the Imperial March remix as my theme, like the Rage Against the Machine version.
Very good.
Oh,
I used it for years for ring music.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I wouldn't mess with Chewbacca, but yeah, Luke could get his hands.
Yeah, that would be a tall order, no pun intended.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, take it away.
All right. So
I got my answer.
So yeah, I actually did want to sidebar also prior. I just want to get that out of the way. But when you've been like on the road on long like road trips and whatnot, as far as your refining your skills goes, is there any other talents that like you can credit throughout your career that you learned a lot from?
Well, I mean, obviously, other than my trainers, I did learn a lot from them. Other guys I would say that I learned a lot from would be guys like Mitch Ryder or Todd Morton. Bull Payne is another guy I did learn a lot from. Actually, like probably like part of my viciousness I get from being a heel and stuff. I learned a lot. I learned those kind of things from Bull.
Oh, that's awesome. I haven't seen too much of his work, but I do remember him on like WCW Saturday Night and Nitro.
Yeah,
whatnot.
he was tough as nails, man. It's definitely the kind of guy you don't want to piss off, you know. But I
Absolutely.
mean, a lot from him, and you know, and Cody Hawk was another guy I learned a lot from. You know, he's based out of the Ohio area. He just recently retired. He's the head trainer for the Micro Championship Wrestling now.
Okay.
That's it. That's what he does now.
Cool.
But you know, being around guys like that, and even Chase, like you know, like Chase Stevens, you know, like I still have stayed in very close contact with my trainers throughout the years. And even you know, like I said, like Doug Vines, Tony Falk. I mean, it took a collection of these guys to help me learn things. You know, like in the car, we would talk about psychology when I was young. We would practice promos and things. You know, in the car. What I kind of think that's something that's kind of lost now is you don't really hear about that kind of stuff anymore. I know, no, I know. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I know like some of the things that was part of the old ways of the business, you know, that are frowned upon today are cut out and good, and you know, and some of those are for the good. Like I think like learning in the car and stuff like that is kind of something I don't really hear much about anymore.
Sure.
I wish
I
was
love
still.
that. I
You
love that
hear a
because
lot about it.
it's super important, man, because I mean realistically it's a captive audience.
Yeah.
So you want to, and who doesn't want to learn from their peers? You know, I'm in sales myself, and I constantly want to reach out to other salespeople and say, okay, so what did it for you here? So yeah, the idea of, you know, doing that loop and being in the car with your buddies and just being able to bounce ideas off each other is just a thing of the past, I guess, which is, you know,
Yeah, it's
unfortunate.
like you know, it's all like in real life. I mean, it's like getting a second set of eyes on your work to see if you're missing something,
Hmm.
right? I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, and when it comes to things like that, why wouldn't you get advice from those who you know have been there and done it
Absolutely.
and have years? But yeah, I think that's something that like I don't hear much about that I would miss that I miss seeing, you know, or
Very
hearing
cool.
about.
For sure. So Derek, you know, over the next year, who are some wrestlers that you want to face, and what are some of your goals that you have in mind?
Wrestlers that I would want to face over the next year. I mean, I would you know, I've had obviously like we were talking about, you know, I did have a match with Beef in
Mhm.
Birmingham weekend, but wouldn't mind doing that one again, but maybe for the Limitless World Championship.
Hell yeah.
Oh
Have
yeah.
you wrestled for Limitless yet?
I have not yet, no,
That I mean,
but I would definitely doing so. As far as other talent that I would like to work with out there now, Brian Keith. I think I
yes,
think we I think we could have a very solid outing out there in the ring.
no doubt.
Even though he's a bigger guy, and I've just been so I haven't seen much of him in a little while, but I've been just so fascinated with how athletic he is. Ryan Gallione.
Oh,
Yes.
Uh,
Is he in the
that
South
dude
now?
is so good. I don't know. I don't know where he's at,
I
but I mean
said
that to be that big, he's insane.
The top rope springboard senton thing that he does.
Yeah,
Unreal.
absolutely. And just his footwork and the way and to be able to move like that,
Mhm.
you know, I find that very impressive to me.
I said the same thing when I watched the last Grind show. Because I hadn't seen Ryan Gallione in forever. The last match I think I watched him wrestle was against Brody King, um, a
Ooh,
while back. And I said, man, like that guy is just I don't know what happened to him because he has it all. Just like you
Yeah,
said, man, he is big
yeah,
and
his
strong,
athletic
fast and athletic.
it's to be that big. To me, it's off the charts. I mean,
absolutely.
It is insane. Another guy I'd like to have a match with. He's based out of San Francisco, but Levi Shapiro. I think we could have a good match.
Yep.
I love that pick. In fact,
And
like
Kyle's right up my alley. You know?
exactly. You guys are both like students of the game and are just like I love how he also is a guy that wears the glove, you know, that a lot like what's
reminds me of DiBiase in the 80s. He did it for a while.
DiBiase and who's the Bray Wyatt's grandfather there? I'm slipping my mind.
Oh, you're talking about one of the Blackjacks, ain't he?
Yeah, one of the Blackjacks there. Yeah, yep.
Was it
that would
Mulligan?
be IRS's dad?
Yeah. It would be Mike Rotunda's dad.
Yeah.
Trying to think if Barry Windham did it too.
Yeah, I think Barry Windham did the one glove for a bit too.
Barry did also do it. Yeah.
But I love Levi's work, and even if you guys ever decided to form a tag team sometime, I think that would be
that would be
fucking
fun.
badass, you know, like an East-West connection there. But
another match that I am getting, and it's a guy that's been on my list for a long time, and we're going to be doing it at St. Louis Anarchy later in the year. He just challenged me for the championship. For his rematch, he's going to be Jeremy Wyatt.
I like it. He's very solid.
I think that's one that's been on my list for a good while too.
Well, he was the longest reigning Gateway Heritage champ, right?
Yep. Ever. It's like, it's an insane amount of days. I mean, I can't remember it's like probably in 1,300 day territory, maybe, just thinking offhand. But yeah, he had training.
That's dope.
Acknowledge him.
So what I also had on my list too of I had Brian Keith here as someone you wanted to face in Big Beef. Shigehiro Irie, I don't know how long he's gonna be in the States for, but if you two fucking
amazing. I didn't think of that one because he's always in Japan. I first met Shiggy it's been a few years, but when he was here in the US, I want to say it was maybe 2014, 15. I'm trying to think offhand. Maybe he was working for IWA Mid-South pretty regular when he was here, and I was there at that time too.
Oh, so you guys have fought each other?
No, we never have.
Oh, we never did.
We in cards together, but yeah, I think that would be a very good matchup for sure.
No doubt about it. I think he is in America, like still. He was on a GCW show over the weekend against Brian Keith, which was a banger.
Was it St. Louis? I think he was at, or was it Evansville? It was
I think it was St. Louis. I think of the St. Louis show he was at. Yeah. Yeah, but so and then another wrestler I'd really love to see you face too. I don't know if it'll ever happen based on his contract circumstances, but for you to be in kind of that Walter Gunther role against Ilya Dragunov, I think you guys would fucking tear the house down.
That would be insane. That guy is very good. Very, very good. That match that they had was just unreal.
All their matches, going back to like 2017 in WXW. By the way, I know you're a family man and everything, but is there any international tours that you may be interested in down the line?
I would be very interested in Germany for sure. Obviously Japan, but definitely, but Germany and Japan for sure.
So I have a name to throw out there for you because I think he's the most prominent, person out there speaking to the All Japan style. But like, have you wrestled Eddie Kingston before, or would you like to?
I would love that one too. I'm off the road with him.
He's definitely one of those 4 pillars guys that is just All Japan through and through. So I think that would be something that I would definitely be down to see in the future if ever it does possibly cross our path. So
Yeah, I would definitely love that one.
No doubt about it. So, just to wrap this up, Derek, next Friday night, April 28th, 2023, it's going to be Pro Wrestling Grind presents Masters of Reality. We're proud to be sponsoring the strap match between yourself and Iron Rip Bison. Now, what should everyone be expecting from this matchup?
It's going to be war. I know, Rip has mentioned, he has not lost a strap match. I have a very good record myself. I think out of strap matches, I am probably 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm very well versed in this style of match, especially as you can tell, that's what I carry to the ring is a strap.
Yes.
So, it's definitely, we're going to do it how Wahoo want it done. I'll just say that.
Ooh, I think we're going to see something pretty brutal.
It's going to be tough for us. So, friend of the show, Ripper, he's been on here with us, and now you've been on here. Who are you going to be rooting for in the crowd, Eric?
I am, I'm going to react accordingly. I think out of respect to this man, I'm going to boo him. I'm going to boo Derek Neal because we are in Ripper's house.
And live.
Kayfabe,
I'll tell you what, Derek. I saw this card shape up. Eric reached out to me about sponsoring the strap match with you and Rip, and I asked my wife. I said, "Can I go up to New York for a couple of days?" And she said, "What do you think?" So I tried. I tried to be there. I did.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out there for grind. We're big grind fans, and if you're ever in the Charlotte area, I will definitely make the trip out to see you if you're wrestling on a card here.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, I really like Pro Wrestling Grind a lot. It's as far as the style and the way they present professional wrestling. That's what pro wrestling is to me.
No doubt about it, man.
There's really
the All Japan influence.
There's something very special there going on. I'm glad to be.
That's why we like sponsoring the shows every month, and we get to do interviews with awesome people like you. And we did Delmy, and we did Rip over the last couple of months, and it's just been really fun, being associated with the brand and having you on today.
Well, thank you guys for having me on. It's been fun.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. So, Derek, where can everyone listening find you online?
You can find me on I'm sorry, I'm trying not to laugh. My wife done flamed up the grill over here.
I thought she was flipping the wrap it up light on us.
I saw a whoosh and I looked up and her eyes were just
cane effect.
Nothing like live, huh? So you can find me on Twitter at Derek Neal 91. Or you could find me on Facebook. My Facebook page is Derek Neal Official. You can find me there. Or you can find me on my Instagram at Derek.Neal.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on. Can't wait to see the strap match once it comes to IWTV. I will definitely be watching intently.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to watch. I can't wait to watch it live. And damn, it's going to be special.
It's going to be war.
It's been a year in the making, so
absolutely
very excited.
Find out who the better man is, man. We didn't get to do that last time that we faced, so we got to figure it out. We're gonna figure it out.
Hell yeah! All right, thanks so much, Derek.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Keep watching wrestling, everyone.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.